Hey yo, what is up? The 122 TM Chinese premium tank is in your garage right now. If you want to go see it, you can go to your comparison, and you can view this tank right in your garage right now. But before we take a look at the stats and go further into it, let's take a look at the model of the tank. It's a Chinese medium tank. I don't know if it is a reward tank, if it's a premium tank, is it a mission tank. The model looks pretty good. The hull looks pretty interesting. There is some embossed star here on the fenders, looks pretty cool. There's some kind of flame thrower going on the side of the turret, something like the WZ-5A skin. These I think are flame throwers of some sort, I don't know. Pretty cool looking model tank. Yeah, in terms of the way it looks pretty cool. But let's talk a little bit about the stats. This tank actually does 400 damage, 400 alpha, very big gun. That's because it has a 120 caliber gun. In terms of alpha damage, the only tank that actually comes close to it is the Repeatable, which does 390 alpha. So if you want to compare it with any other tank on in the game, you actually need to compare it with the Repeatable. But to be honest with you, the Repeatable isn't one of the most competitive tanks in tier 8 premium tanks. The most competitive tank out there is the T-44-100 in terms of like a single shot tank, right? Outside of the Brask and the Progetto 46 and the GSOR, all these auto loaders, auto reloaders, you can't compare it with that. So you have to compare it with the single shot tanks, and of course the single shot tanks, the best one out there is the T-44-100. So let's take a look at the comparisons, and then we will discuss a little bit further on how or if this tank is going to be interesting enough for us to pick up or grind missions from. Now I put it side by side with the T-44-100 274A, which is the newest reward tank, and the M41 Repeatable. DPM wise 1430, the lowest DPM of all. And why? This is because this tank reloads in 16.78 seconds, really slow reload. Even if you have good crew, if you have rammers, run food, BIA, the best you can get it down to is 14 seconds. Now if you have a T-44-100, you can get this down to 5 seconds reload, which means you can fire almost 3 shots before that. You know what I mean? For every shot that the 122 TM makes, the T-44-100 can definitely fire twice, which means it will do more damage than the 122 TM, because 250 damage times 2 is of course 500. Even the Repeatable reloads at 12.27 seconds. 4-5 seconds quicker than a 122 TM. The Repeatable, with all the crew, with BIA, with food, you can get it down to 10 seconds. So I don't know how this 122 TM is going to be competitive compared to the Repeatable. Maybe it's in the armor, I don't know, but let's talk a little bit more about it. 122 TM, again, 400 alpha damage, but really slow reload. But you are firing standard APCR shells that travel at 1300 meters per second, almost as quick as the Repeatable, which has 1400 meters per second APCR shells as well. Nearly twice as fast as the standard AP rounds of the T-44-100. This is the only thing that makes that 122 TM kind of interesting because of that APCR shells, 400 alpha, and high velocity shells. So this could be the interesting part about the 122 PM, the TM. Let's continue to look at the stats. Only 30 shells it carries, slow reload, 30 shells. I don't suppose you're going to miss a lot of shots with this kind of shell velocity. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention is the high penetration on this gun. These are the good points about this gun. The high penetration, the high alpha damage, and the high shell velocity. The downside is the slow reload. So 223 penetration, it is a lot higher penetration than any of the other competitors, the T44-100 or the 274A or the Revolverise. This means that the 122 TM, if you only fired the standard shells, you're gonna be saving a lot of credits, which means you can have the potential of making a lot of credits because you don't need to fire a lot of premium shells. Because of your high penetration, high velocity shells, you're going to make more, you're gonna hit more of your targets, and you're going to penetrate more of your targets, and that is one of the advantages. Now let's move on to the gun handling. Aim time, 2.21 seconds is really good. 2.21 seconds, you're talking better aim time than the 274A, almost as good as the T44-100 aim time. Dispersion as well, 0.32. This means if you have BIA, you will have 0.30 dispersion, which is really good. And if you are going to run food, you're going to have 0.28 dispersion. 0.28 dispersion, you are talking about Tiger 2 accuracy. Tiger 2 accuracy is really important. That means there is a possibility that you do not need to run vertical stabilizers. You might not need to run vertical stabilizers on this tank. So maybe an IRM would be useful. It would help with a little bit with the mobility. And the downside about this tank is the hidden stats here, the stats that you don't see printed here, out here on the fact sheet here. You need to find them in Tanks GG, and you can find it in Tanks GG. These are the hidden stats, the moving dispersions. So you can see the moving dispersions, it is 0.19 compared to the T44-100, 0.12. T44-100 can shoot very accurately on the move, which the 122 TM will not be able to do. So it has the accuracy of a 274A on the move. Now, if you have the 274A, you know how bad the gun is when it is on the move. So when I say you don't need vertical stabilizers, now here's an argument that you do need vertical stabilizers. So is the vertical stabilizer more important than the IRMs? I think if it was up to me, if it was my tank, I think the vertical stabilizers is going to be more important than the IRM. So I would definitely go for vertical stabilizers, because vertical stabilizers help in accuracy when the tank is on the move. So I'm going to use vertical stabilizers. You definitely need to use a rammer if you want to get it down to something usable. 14-second reload is still terrible, but it's a lot better than 16 seconds. So you definitely need a rammer. You definitely need vertical stabilizers to help with the moving dispersions, with the tank traverse dispersion, with the turret dispersion accuracy. You really need vertical stabilizers. And the next equipment I'm definitely going to use in this tank is probably going to be optics, because this tank has terrible view range. The view range on this tank, where is it? Only 370. You definitely need optics, otherwise you're blind as a bat. Now, this is a medium tank with really good armor compared to the rest of the tanks out. You see here, it's got 120 hull armor and 280 frontal armor on the turret, which is a lot better than the Object 274A, better than the T-44-100. T-44-100 has not bad turret armor, but this has a lot. This is a heavy tank turret armor. So you're gonna play the 122 TM like a fast heavy tank or a mobile tank destroyer, up to you. But it is definitely not played like a medium tank. So mobility, let's talk a little bit about mobility. 50 kilometers an hour, not slow, not too fast, but reverse is really slow. 15 kilometers an hour, just like an Object 274A. The difference here now between all these tanks is here, the power to weight ratio. 15.47 means really poor power to weight ratio. It has a medium tank top speed, but it's going to take forever for you to get there. So don't expect to get 50 kilometers an hour top speed. In fact, you will probably get around 40 kilometers an hour. 44 kilometers an hour speed is going to be your regular speed, because the power to weight ratio is so low. Terrain resistance as well is really bad, which means you're going to get bogged down on grass, on sand. It's going to be really slow and sluggish. No agility at all. So this, it is only medium tank in name, but you're probably going to play it like a heavy tank or a slow tank destroyer. So that is what you're going to expect from the 122 PM. Stationary camo is not too bad at all. Better camo than the Revolorice. Not as great as the T-44-100, but I expect you can get about 30%, 33% if you have all your crews decked out with camo skills. So expect a little bit of camo, useful camo, almost as good as a T-44-100, but not the greatest. So there you go. This is the 122 TM, the new Chinese premium tank. I don't know if it's a reward tank, a mission tank, a tank that's going to be going on sale. I'm not too sure about it, but it is in your game files. If you want to take a look at it, just go to your tank comparison and pick out the Chinese medium tank line. You will find this tank in the game files. Click on it and you can go around it as well and check out what it looks like, especially if you have one of these free cam mods. You can just fly around and have a close-up and take a look at the tank and decide whether you want to get this tank when it gets released real soon, I would imagine, because it's already in your game files. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.